The Utah Utes were once again left out of the AP poll, Sam, and I got to be honest, I don't have a massive issue with this. Yes, teams that were ranked lost and fell out. I actually want to give AP poll. We love to pile on the AP poll when they don't do a good job. Polling Texas and Oklahoma, polling Texas and Penn State out was absolutely the correct move for what happened. But we don't always see them penalize the big brands the same as they do some of the other teams. So I was really pleased to see both Texas and Penn State drop out, neither one with a win against a P4 team. Now, they played some decent ones. I don't know how good Florida is, but, we obviously know UCLA is not very good. So until they show it, I think you got to wait to get them ranked. But, this is a Utah team. Could they be in there at 25? Yeah, they could be right there with Florida State in there, South Florida in there. Would I have Utah in my top 25? I do. I feel like Utah is one of the 25 best teams in college football right now. But at the end of the day, Sam, that's what this weekend is for. If Utah wins against Arizona State, I don't see how they wouldn't be ranked after this week. Agree?
Yeah, I don't think you can be super mad if you're a Utah fan. Like you said, if they win this week against Arizona State and if they win next week or the week after against BYU, you're back to a top 15 program. There's nothing that Utah can really look back on and be, we should be ranked because of this win or because of this loss. The one chance you have was against Texas Tech. If you beat Tech, you're the 10th best team in the country. I mean, it's as simple as that. Tech was 10, right, in this last one?
Yeah, Tech was actually in the top 10 now. That's which is another thing. I'm a huge Tech is 9, which I totally agree with.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. But yeah, I don't think you can be too upset. I think you have more of a reason to be upset if you're Nebraska or Cincinnati, who has a signature win, unlike Utah. But like we said, you win this week, you're in. So it's not really something to be mad about.
I would have Cincinnati in. That's one thing I can actually say looking at this. I feel like it's fair to evaluate these resumes as the season goes on. Cincinnati's resume, I know this is Locked On Utes, it's just clearly better than Utah. I value the Kansas win and the Iowa State win clearly any more than a win Utah has. So that's how I would look at it. And I would say right now, Cincinnati's resume, what they've done is fitting of a top 25 team. I was a little down on the Bearcats. I thought that was a bad loss for Kansas 2 weeks ago. Now what Sorsby, Satterfield have been able to do, that's a game that I'm glad that game's in Rice-Eccles Stadium because that is a Cincinnati team that's showing a lot of promise and improvement. And I think that'll be another good challenge for this Utah team coming up. But yeah, like Utah against a Florida State, right? Even Florida State, they have the win against Bama. South Florida has the win against Florida. Memphis, they're undefeated. Like their best win is Arkansas. How great is that? That's debatable, but they are undefeated. So that's fine there. Cincinnati was the first team left out. Then it's Texas, Penn State. Then it's Utah. Then Nebraska, UCLA, or excuse me, USC. UCLA ain't getting up here, but they were a fun story this week so far. So you get a couple other teams in there, but I love that the Big 12 is getting that respect too. You have Iowa State not dropping out of the rankings. I don't think they should have. You have Arizona State back in the rankings. We'll talk about BYU in a moment, how I feel about them, but I love that Tech is in the top 10 as well. I feel like this is the Big 12 getting some respect by the top 25. Would love Cincinnati or Utah in there, but overall, I feel like the Big 12 is getting some respect this week, Sam.
Actually, one thing that I would do was I actually really like Nebraska. Nebraska has the road win at Cincinnati. And so that's when I think the number 25 spot, which they gave to Florida State, who is 3-2. Yes, their 2 losses are, well, I don't know how good Virginia is, but like their 2 losses are okay. But like, I don't think at this point I would like a 3-2 team in the top 25 just based off of principle. Yes, I do think Florida State is a top 25 team, but just off of like the principle, I don't think they should be in. So that's why I would rather have a Nebraska or a Cincinnati. And I mean, Nebraska, they went on the road, beat Cincinnati. Their one loss is a 3-point loss to Michigan. And that's not a bad loss. So yeah, but like we said, give it time. You win, you're in. Don't be upset about AP poll stuff,
Yeah, that's the hard part. It's a tough job to rank them, and that's why I appreciate them dropping the teams out. Because, Sam, I don't know about you. Like, I feel like Penn State and Texas will end the season as top 25 teams, and I'm sure almost every AP poll voter does. But at the end of the day, this is also not just a reflection of, like, what's going to happen. It's what you've done. And so far on the season, those teams have not been impressive. Coming into the season, we all thought Clemson was going to be really good at football. It turns out they're not. So you got to evaluate them based on what's happened. I think that is a great point on Nebraska because they do have that head-to-head win against Cincinnati. So that would be totally fair if Nebraska is up there. One team, though, that is in here that I'm fine with them being in here, Sam, is the team that you cover, the BYU Cougars. Here's my thing with BYU still, because a lot of people would say, JT, why aren't you giving BYU their credit, their respect? Here's the deal. BYU is in the same category as Utah in some ways. I'm still holding out. Like, I wanted them to prove how good they actually are when they play a quality team. And by quality team, I mean a top 10 Big 12 team at least. I know ECU's a little better, but I'm still not super impressed by them. We still don't know how good Utah is because they've beaten the bad teams, but they've yet to beat a really good team. I feel like I can say the same thing about BYU. So that's why I'm reserving judgment. BYU's undefeated. It's fine that they're in these rankings, but I would be lower on them. Than I still feel like Utah, a Cincinnati right now, I'm more impressed with too. And Iowa State, a lot of these teams, I'm more impressed with them than BYU so far, simply for the resume. You cover this BYU team. How legit do you think they are?
I do think that they should be as highly ranked as they are.
Okay.
Like you said, they haven't had a loss, and you can't really penalize them. Yes, they haven't played a really good team yet. In fact, you could argue they've only played pretty bad teams. I think either ECU or Colorado would be their best opponent on the season, and that's nothing to write home about. But here's why I really like BYU. Their defense is amazing. I think their defense has picked up just right where they left off from last year. I think that's a top 10 unit in the country. Against West Virginia, they ended up allowing 28 points, but two of those touchdowns were off of turnovers from BYU in West Virginia territory. One of them was a fumble that West Virginia picked up on the 3-yard line, and then West Virginia just scored on like the next following drive. So I don't really fault BYU's defense too much, but I like this BYU team. And Bear Bachmeier against Colorado actually was given a chance to go out and win a game. He was down by 14. They said, hey, Bear, you can't rely on the defense anymore. You got to go out and win. And he did it. And you say what you want about his stats, and sometimes he's been held a little bit back. He hasn't done like Johnny Manziel freshman type year stuff, things like that. But he's good. I mean, and he's good enough to win games. And in my opinion, I think he's good enough to get BYU into Big 12 title contention. That's how much I like Bear Bachmeier. I'm in on this BYU team. I still think there's flaws, and we're going to see that over the next stretch of games. They have a gauntlet of a schedule coming up, but I like them.
Yeah, and they've done what they were supposed to do. And I will say, Bear's been better than I thought he would be coming into the year. I still just want to see it against one of those other Big 12 contenders. But like you said, Sam, the schedule will definitely allow for that coming up. And, we are just 2 weeks away removed from the Utah BYU game. I cannot wait for that one. You talked about just how good BYU's defense is. I could say a similar thing for how good the Utah defense has been. So I'm thinking that one will be the under. I'd bet the under on that one. I do not think that is going to be a very high scoring game when those two teams match up right now. Said coming into the year, I thought Utah would win in Provo. Based on what I've seen so far, I'll still say that's the case. Sam, how do you view that matchup, even though we are 2 weeks away from it?
Okay. I might have kind of a cop-out answer for you, so I hope you like this answer. But my answer is this. If Jack Kelly and Isaiah Glasker are healthy for that game, BYU wins. If they aren't, Utah wins. Okay. I don't know how familiar the Utah fans are with Isaiah and Jack. They're the two starting linebackers of BYU. I think by far the best players on BYU's team, and they are what makes that defense elite. Now, I might say something a little sacrilegious here for Utah ears, but think about 2021 Devin Lloyd. That is the impact that I think that these two linebackers have on this defense. Think about that 2021 defense around Devin. It was a really good defense, but Devin Lloyd made that defense elite. Devin Lloyd was he was the heart and soul of that team. He's what made everything run, stuffed the stat sheet. That's what Jack Kelly and Isaiah Glasker are like for this BYU defense. And against West Virginia, Jack Kelly looks to have potentially a pretty serious injury on either his left arm or shoulder. They haven't released it yet. We'll find out tomorrow what the verdict is. And that's really scary to think that he might be hurt. And then Isaiah Glasker came up limping in the second quarter as well. And he sat out the entire second half. But I think that was a little bit more precautionary. So that's what I'm keeping my eye on. If these two players can play in the Utah game, I think they are the two best players on BYU's team that can contain Devin Dampier. But if they don't play, I think Utah's just going to be able to run all over this BYU defense.
Yeah, and I have no issue with that. Like you said, the comparison to those two are fantastic. Kelly, Glasker, and look, the Utah interior offensive line is still top 10 offensive line in the country. The interior offensive line got pushed around against Texas Tech. That Keanu Tanavasa, the D tackles that BYU has, are pretty good. So that will be a fascinating matchup. Cannot wait to get Utah BYU part 2 of their Big 12 rivalry in football. It's going to be an epic clash. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at Peloton. Peloton is shaping the future of fitness with brand new Peloton Cross Training Tread Plus, powered by Peloton IQ. It's the most advanced equipment yet, designed to give you real-time guidance and endless ways to move, whether you're running, lifting, or cross-training with your favorite instructors. This is training reimagined. Peloton is built for breakthroughs with tools that help you plan, stay motivated, and reach peak performance. I love how Peloton IQ system offers real-time strength coaching. It tracks your reps, suggests the right weights, and corrects your form, making every rep safer and smarter. And your personalized class recommendations keep you engaged. Your workouts are tailored to your vibe and your energy level each workout. So you can head over today and give Peloton a try. I promise you won't regret it. Head over now, see what Peloton has to offer. Explore the new Peloton Cross Training Tread Plus today at onepeloton.com. You can head over to onepeloton.com right now.